That IRS whistleblower claims U.S. Attorney David Weiss tried to bring charges against Hunter Biden, but was told no by higher-ups. His testimony challenging Attorney General Merrick Garland's statements to Congress back in March when he said Weiss had full authority to carry out the investigation however he wanted. Let's bring in Jonathan Turley, constitutional law attorney and a Fox News contributor. Jonathan, let me set the stage here before we get your comment on it. I want to go to call for number 2 first here for the control room. Here's what Gary Shapley said in his testimony. He said the Biden-appointed D.C. U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves would not allow him to charge in his district. To add to the surprise, U.S. Attorney Weiss stated that he subsequently asked for special counsel authority from Maine DOJ at that time and was denied that authority. Let's go to call for number 4 here. Here's what Merrick Garland said moments ago.
This constitutes an attack on an institution that is essential to American democracy and essential to the safety of the American people. Nothing could be further from the truth. You've all heard me say many times that we make our cases based on the facts and the law. These are not just words. These are what we live by.
All right, so Merrick Garland is saying this whole thing is untrue and that it is trying to put a stain on the system of justice in this country. What do you say?
Well, welcome to the state of Missouri. The response is show me. You know, the problem with Merrick Garland is he keeps on saying, you need to trust us. We're the government. We state these words as our motto. Well, the public doesn't trust his department. His department's level of trust is lower than it was under his predecessor, Bill Barr. And over a majority of people believe the FBI, Department of Justice, are now politically compromised, that they're engaging in interference with the election as opposed to protecting democracy. That can't be sustained, and it can't be corrected by just saying, well, we have this motto and we live by it. That's not enough. Now, we haven't been able to obviously authenticate this information, but what we do know is that these are people that made statements to congressional investigators under the threat of prosecution if they lie. And that comes with an element of credibility. It doesn't mean you have to accept it as true. The same thing is about this message. There's no authentication. But these are chilling statements that are coming from 2 respected federal employees who are now whistleblowers. The problem that Garland has is that much of this investigation just doesn't fit very well logically. You know, they spent 5 years to charge violations that you could have established in the first month. And notably, it doesn't include a FARA violation. So just take that message for a second. If that's authentic, the question again is what happened to FARA? I mean, the Department of Justice charged various people during the Trump administration with being unregistered foreign agents, including Paul Manafort, whose case seems strikingly similar to this one. But there's nary a mention of it in any of this.
So our David Spunt moments ago asked Merrick Garland about that allegation that Shapley elucidated in his testimony to Congress, that Weiss tried to bring prosecutions and was rebuffed. Here's what Garland said.
As I said at the outset, Mr. Weiss, who was appointed by President Trump as the U.S. Attorney in Delaware and assigned this matter during the previous administration, would be permitted to continue his investigation and to make a decision to prosecute any way in which he wanted to and in any district in which he wanted to. Mr. Weiss has since sent a letter to the House Judiciary Committee confirming that he had that authority. I don't know how it would be possible for anybody to block him from bringing a prosecution, given that he has this authority.
So after talking to the Attorney General, David Spunt reached out to David Weiss's office. They said, thanks for reaching out. We declined comment. Who's telling the truth here? Does Weiss have the authority? Did he try to get prosecutions and was rebuffed, or did he not? I mean, how do we know?
Well, that's the problem. Well, that's the problem with what we've heard from Merrick Garland, is that he tends to repeat the same lines over without giving any additional information. It may be true that Weiss was not refused the opportunity to present this to a grand jury. I assume that to be the case until someone shows me evidence to prove to the contrary. But Garland has a burden now to shoulder. He has testified in Congress that there was no interference. You have two people who have direct knowledge and involvement in these meetings who say there was interference. And it was so pronounced that people objected in the meetings. They said that when they wanted to ask questions about the president, they were rebuffed. When they wanted to do searches, they were either prevented or, in their view, the searches were compromised. You can't get more serious than that. And what really makes me a little bit miffed is to hear Garland say, how dare people talk about their Department of Justice in this way? Well, yeah. People are talking about it because you have whistleblowers who said that it wasn't our Department of Justice, that people had taken it over for political purposes. It is the care for that institution that is leading to these questions. And if you want to regain the integrity and the trust in the department, you're going to have to do more. So at this point, I think the answer is clear. Congress has every right to start calling people into Congress. On the top of that list just might be Hunter Biden. But it also should include Merrick Garland, and it should include Weiss, and it should include a couple other people mentioned. The American people are losing patience. So it's a little late to say, trust us. You're going to have to show us.
All right. Many layered onion we have before us as we peel it back layer by layer. Jonathan Turley, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.